Good morning, Africa, and this is Wake Up Africans. Welcome to the second episode of Wake Up Africa, whereby today we have the opportunity as the continent, as we come together as a continent, and I'm delighted to mention that we will be joined by Uganda, Tanzania yet again, Kenya, Rwanda, Burundi, South Africa, and Nigeria onto the second episode where we're looking onto the mindset of abundance. When we speak of the mindset of abundance, what does it really mean? So, when we speak of mindset of abundance, Africa, we really are looking onto the African continent that is full of resources. I was watching this video the other day that says, um, Africa such is so rich that we produce raw materials to almost every product that we consume in Africa, but none of those products come from Africa. So why is it that we have such a rich continent, but we do not have what we can call our own? Why is it that we have so rich continent, but yet most of African countries have people that are really very poor? This is what you're going to look at with contribution from the countries that I've mentioned. Once again, I would really like to thank at this juncture all my viewers that are present online right now through YouTube, Wake Up Africa, WUA. But I would also like to thank my producers, Essa and Noreen. You guys are the best. And thank you really for making sure that every Saturday this show goes live. I would really like once again to thank all the regional correspondents, my people from Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda, Burundi, and today we are joined by South Africa and Nigeria for their comment onto the topic, really the mindset of abundance. We shall come back in about 15 seconds. Stay tuned. And this is Wake Up Africa. So, when we speak about the mindset of abundance, first and foremost, what is it that we mean? When someone tells you you have a mindset of abundance vis-a-vis the mindset of scarcity, what does that mean? I was looking through the journals and looking through the books that I've been reading onto this topic, and it's interesting that mindset of abundance or mindset of scarcity is brought mostly by the way we were raised. Now, if for a second or for a minute you can look back and say, oh, when I was growing up, my parents always complained the money or the resources were not enough. So we had probably only one type of meal for a day because the resources were not enough. We never went on holiday because the resources were not enough. We never went to the best schools because the resources were not enough. Then, as you grow up as a person, you also come into with that mindset that the resources are not enough. And once you have that mindset of scarcity, and it's so unfortunate that my mentor always reminds me that there's always enough for everyone. And once you have that sort of mindset, this is the mindset of abundance. You can never have that tendency of saying, this is mine. Everything that you see is mine, but you always celebrate when things, when you see people succeed, you always celebrate them because you know what? You do not compare yourself with anyone because that is their endowment. That is what they've been given. And everyone, my dear viewer, for Wake Up Africa, if you see, you have a talent that nobody else on earth has. Okay. But the moment you try to relate yourself to somebody else, this is now when you say, why does that person have and I do not have? That now becomes the mindset of scarcity. That's now becomes the tendency where you say, why not me? Why not me? But the world is there and has enough for everyone. The world is there and has enough for everyone. My mentor also says, when you open up your mind to see with that third eye, you do not need to fight over the resources. You do not need to fight over, I want to be the best of the best. Yes, you should be the best of the best. But how do you become the best of the best? only by improving yourself. And how do you improving yourself? How do you improve yourself? Is by believing in yourself that yes, you can do this. Now, I would like to pick a couple of pointers that I would like to share with you as I wait for my friends to join online and we ponder onto the mindset of abundance. When you're able to see limitless of potential in life, limitless of potential in life, that means you have the mindset of abundance. When you're able to say, there's enough for everyone, even if you literally know there ain't enough for everyone, that is the mindset of abundance. When you're able to see the glass as half full and not half empty, when you see it from that end. And this is a challenge for many people. And you can take this example, fill up a glass half and ask people, how is this glass? Is it half full or half empty? Those with a mindset of abundance will certainly tell it's half full. What does that mean? We can only share whatever is in there. But the moment you say it's half empty, that means it is only for that person holding that glass. But no, everyone can share. And at this juncture, I would also like to quote Mama Teresa of Calcutta. Once she said, if you think you cannot give, if you think your life does not have an impact, look at the little insect called mosquito. As little as they are, they are probably the leading causes of malaria. They're the leading causes of malaria, which is one of the strongest, one of the biggest number that claims many lives across the world. That little insect called malaria called mosquito, causes malaria. And then what happens? Most of us suffer from it. Now, we all have something to give. And once you have that mindset that I have something to give, I have something to get from the world because the world has a lot to give. And yet, that is what the definition of limitless of potential in life. When you see that things will always get better. We have people that surround us who are always pessimistic. They think themselves, they think negative. Anything that you pose on them, can we do this? Oh no, that can't be done. That can only be done or achieved by certain people, by certain countries. That cannot be done by us. This is again an example of mindset of scarcity. So we should always constantly remind ourselves that yes, limitless potential in life. Yes, the glass is half full and not half empty. Yes, things will always get better. But also when you want to have when you think of yourself and when you reflect yourself, before we go on to Africa, when you reflect on yourself, because it begins with you, that something good is always coming your way. When things do not go right your way, what is it that the first thing you say? Oh God, why me this time? That is mindset of scarcity. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday who was complaining that my paychecks are delayed and he was looking for money desperately. And I told him, you know what? They could be delayed, but when you get them, that is the time you most need them. Because when you get them now, you will probably not use them at the best that you would have used in the future. Now, think about what it is that you want to do when you get that money. And you'll realize when you get them, that is the better time to have them. This also happens to your friend. This is also happen to your neighbor. This also happens to your countryman. This can also happen to anyone that is near or far from you. The moment you say that is given to them and just commend them, you congratulate them, that is the mindset of abundance, because you know what? Something good, better, best is coming your way. This is the mindset of abundance. We're breaking briefly, and when we come back, we'll look on to now what are some of the other factors that when you see in yourself or you see in others could be indication that these kind of mindsets are mindsets of scarcity. We'll be back in 15 seconds. Have you come across a person who is constantly jealous? of your progress or anything that you do or anything that you have. Okay. Now, that is an indication of mindset of scarcity, and you do not need to confront that person. You only need to show that person so that we can all sail together. And this is Wake Up Africa. And let me just take a second to remind, why do we have Wake Up Africa every Saturday morning? Why does Wake Up Africa brings uh, people from different corners of Africa? We bring everyone from every part of Africa to discuss and change the Africa's narrative. When you think of, yes, if Tanzania gets better, Uganda gets better, Rwanda gets better, Burundi gets better, South Africa gets better. Why? Because we are all one continent. So we should not feel jealousy of, each other. Now, mindset of abundance vis-a-vis mindset of scarcity is that opens up to giving away from things like jealousy. When you sit and say, we are better than so and so, but you're all Africans. We are all Africans, And this is also coming with a tendency, probably the topic for next week, which I'll be announcing on later on, is when you're selling similar products. Maybe let's say you're selling spare parts, vehicle spare parts, and you know your fellow Africans selling the same. But you say, what if I recommend this guy, this my fellow African, that will be richer than me? So let me call some Asian guy and tell someone I do not have this spare part, but go to that shop that person has. Although someone of your own nature, the Africans also have the same spare part, then that is jealousy. That is mindset of scarcity. But when you think of Africa, when you think of opportunities that are open to everyone, that means you're not jealous. You're happy to grow as a continent. You're happy to grow as a people, as Africa. That means you are now considering the mindset of abundance, that Africa has a lot and we all have a lot and we can all share and we can all grow as a continent. Jealousy is something that we really ought to avoid. When you start comparing yourself, and I'm happy to see that my brother Elliot, all the way from Burundi, has joined. And shortly, Elliot, I will be with you. Let me finish one or two other pointers. When you start comparing yourself, that I am better than that country, yet we are all on the same ground, Mama Africa. This is the mindset of scarcity. What you have in your country may not necessarily be what we have in my country. What I have in my country may not necessarily be what you have in your country. But when we work complementing, when we work supporting, when we work acknowledging each other, this is when we bring abundance into our lives. And this is when we grow as Africa. Elliot, good morning and welcome to Wake Up Africa, all the way from Burundi.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, everyone.
It's very good to see
Hello.
you, Elliot. We missed a lot of your contribution last week, but Elliot, tell us a bit about yourself. What is it that you do in Burundi? And let's go on to the mindset of abundance.
So can you repeat?
We missed a lot of you last week on the first episode of Wake Up Africa, but we have a better reception of you. We have a better view of you. We're delighted that you could join us this morning on Wake Up Africa. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we go on to the topic for the day, which is the mindset of abundance.
Oh, thank you, Austin. Oh, good morning, everyone. I'm greeting you from Burundi, a beautiful country, a beautiful city. I can also share with you, I'm at the top of the city.
That's certainly a beautiful view, Elliot.
Yes. So my name is Elliot, and I'm a lawyer. I'm in private sector. I'm glad to join this session as early my brother Austin told. And this is a big time that as an Africa, we can build our continent. and I know that we have many potentials. So to have this session will be a good time to share our experience from our countries as we are learning from many community, as we are integrating many community as a family skills so that we can also grow together.
Tell me, Elliot, why do you
Thank
think?
you, Austin. Over to
Thank you
you.
so much. And thank you so much. Tell me, why do you think that we like to compare African nations against each other and not for each other? Why do we always say, I am better than certain country while we all are on the same land? I love to call it Mama Africa. Does it give us any value by comparing our countries, by comparing our people, by comparing our economies?
Yes. Uh, we have many, as I say, we have many, Africa have many potentials, and each country has their values. And I agree that we are not at the same level of our economy, so that to be together, it's good thing because, for example, I can be in my country can be good in agriculture, another country can be good in technology. So to join our effort, to join our skills, will make a good profits for both of us. Uh, and also, for example, I show you our city. You see the Lake Tanganyika. This is the Lake Tanganyika, the second deepest lake in the world. And we have many fishes, and some of that fishes you can find in another lake. So, for example, also we have um, many many places where you can also have good hotels, which means that in terms of investment, it can attract people, investors to come to invest in Burundi. Uh, why not also, if I can say, in South Africa, in Egypt, there are many, many, many kind of values that if our as a African uh, people, we can join our skills, we can join our experience, we can empower, we can improve, and also grow together. Thank you.
Excellent. I really appreciate the mere fact that you've spoken of Lake Tanganyika, the second deepest lake, and I'm happy that we share that lake, all of us. But there's no at one particular time Rwanda can claim, or Burundi can claim, or Tanzania can claim, or GR Congo can claim that no, this is our lake. But we all see how best we can enjoy the abundance that the African continent has for our people, for the continent. And thank you for bringing that up. I'm also happy that you've clearly indicated how beautiful Burundi is. I personally am looking so much forward to my visit in Burundi in about 2 weeks. And I look forward to meeting you in person once again, Elliot. But before I let you go and get you to doing something else, Elliot, tell me now, how do we change the mindsets of Africans to actually be now able to see abundance in the continent? How do we help our fellow Africans to really see abundance into the continent so that we do not fight on the resources thinking they're scarce, but we celebrate and embrace each other onto the resources we have because they're in abundance?
Thank you, Austin. First, we have to invest in education. I think our young leaders, our young African leaders have to know that Africa have many potentials. We have many resources, as you said. You saw it. You have mentioned earlier about the Lake Tanganyika. Lake Tanganyika. If you say Lake Tanganyika, we have Tanzania, we have DRC, we have Burundi, we have so on that only resources. There are many, many resources that we have. Our countries can benefit from that lake. We have many resources in this region, in East Africa, in Central Africa. We have in North Africa. So it means if our young leaders uh, don't take it and be educated to know that how can I profit? How can I explore that resources to be in competition with other countries, even investors, they have to know that our African leaders know how to discuss, how to contract, how to
We are losing you, Elliot. Our network is not at par. Can you hear us? If you cannot, I would really. Yes.
and secondly, uh, to also follow how our technology, because the economy is growing fast. There are some tools we have to use. So also uh, we have to combine with that technology in order to innovate our skills.
Elliot, thank you very much. Now give us your final parting message. But before you do, tell us what is happening in Burundi in the next couple of days or this weekend, on the next couple of days. What is upcoming in Burundi? I will tell you what is upcoming in Tanzania, and I look so much forward to. We have the energy conference happening on the last week of this month, and all the heads of state from Africa will be in Tanzania. That includes your president, and I look forward to meeting your president. So, what is happening in Burundi?
Thank you. Oh, we closed our last year, 2025, 24, with many conferences. They have the business summit of COMESA. We have early December. We have the roundtable, which has hosted many investors abroad. All eyes was on Burundi. So now we are starting 2025, and we expect to have uh, more projects. So now we are drafting, we are thinking, we are see how our vision 2024-2026 60 of Burundi will be implemented. Thank you.
Excellent. All the very best. Tell me one final thing. What is your parting remark, Elliot? What is the final message that you want to pass on to Africa?
Oh, Africa, we have many potential. It's our time. Education and sharing, and we have your action, your voice is your future. Thank you.
Elliot, thank you very much. All the way from Burundi, appreciated for that invaluable contribution, my learned brother. I will talk to you next week, and the topic for next week is we're looking on to again looking something similar to what we're discussing today. But why is it that we do not buy African products and African businesses rather than, we'd rather buy products and services from abroad, while some products and services could be found in Africa. And hence, we promote foreign businesses and foreign services and not African businesses and African services. Why and what needs to be done to buy Africa so that we can support Africa? These are the jobs created for Africa. These are the, products for Africa. This is economy for Africa. That will be the topic for next week. We will talk during the week. But thank you so much, Elliot, and I look forward to talking to you next week and seeing you in a couple of days.
Thank you. That.
This is Wake Up Africa. We just had Elliot all the way from Burundi giving us his take on the mindset of abundance Very rich contribution from Elliot. Thank you very much. And this is Wake Up Africa. Be back in a few seconds. This is Wake Up Africa, and Wake Up Africa is a weekly program that brings together Africa to discuss issues of common interest. But why do we discuss issues of common interest? We discuss issues of common interest because we want to change the narrative. What narrative do we want to change? What is it that the Western media or media outside Africa depicts about Africa? Negative. It speaks about wars. But is it true that all that we have in Africa are wars? Tell me which African country has wars, and I will bring that person on to Wake Up Africa and tell us if they're fighting or not. What do they speak of Africa? Poverty. We've just seen in Burundi how beautiful Burundi is. Elliot from Burundi just spoke about abundance of blue economy, the fish that come from Lake Tanganyika that nowhere else has that kind of fish that comes from Lake Tanganyika, the second deepest lake in the world. This is all in Africa. How then do we encompass the idea that Africa could really be a weak country, could continent, could really be a poor continent, a deprived continent of resources, yet everything that we have comes from Africa. Looking back again as I wait my viewers and for comments as I wait my colleagues to join as well. Looking onto the mindset of scarcity, which we're discussing today. I'm looking onto, and I'm now talking to you, my dear viewer. I'm now talking to you following Wake Up Africa this morning. What type of a person are you when it comes to people coming to you for an advice or guidance? Are you that person that says, pay me? Are you that person that says, no, I can't tell you how that is done, even though you know for fact you can be of assistance to that person? Are you that kind of person? If you're that kind of person who thinks only you know something, if you're that kind of person who thinks only you should have something and nobody else should have that, then you ought to consider a change because that's a mindset of scarcity. In the world, there's a lot for everyone. I'm looking on to athletes, I'm looking on to footballers, I'm looking on to artists. They have managers, they have coaches. And what do coaches and managers do? They make sure that they become the best, because I know when you become the best, I become the best of the best, because through me, you've been able to acquire so much. When this footballer becomes the best of what they can be, as the coach, you also become the best coach. This is why coaches just go from one level to the other, from one team to the next better team to the next better team. This is why athletes, footballers, artists become better by the day. Why? Because they're managers, they're producers. And for at this juncture, I would really like to thank my producers, SI Noreen, once again for making sure that the program gets better every day. Because they know when the program Wake Up Africa gets better, the credit also goes back to them. They can go back and say, yo, I'm producing Wake Up Africa, and Wake Up Africa is now getting better by the day. This is the mindset of abundance. The mindset of abundance is the one that tells or shows that there's enough for everyone. And when we all share, we all grow. Now, when you openly and freely give advice to people, you have that mindset of abundance, because I'm advising you so that you can grow. When you grow, we all grow. When Now, looking back onto the aspect that I did mention earlier on, how was your upbringing? And some of us think that we cannot change how we were brought up. No, you can't change. But how do you change? First is by realizing, yes, there's something wrong with my upbringing. You probably did not go to the best schools. Then that should not be a reflection onto what you're thinking now is. There's so much resource online, there's so much free resource in the world that you can always use to enhance, to improve yourself. I have a friend of mine that in the past used to come to me, such a bright young man. I'm happy that he even had a son and named him after me. But he was so much stuck on his past, so much stuck such that he was not seeing any bright future. And I told him, once you want to go onto the future with your chest and chin up high, the only way you can do that is actually to make sure that you let go of your past. This is the guy that whatever you asked him of, he would say, well, my parents did not do that. I did not grow up like that. This kind of mindset will actually continue to hold you back, to hold us back. Similarly, we have countries in Africa. Wake Up Africa. We have countries in Africa to date that still say we cannot develop because we were colonized. 50 years, 60 years of independence, Africa, you still think you cannot be better because you were colonized those years back. Wake Up Africa calls for a reminder that mindset of abundance calls for you to think, what does it take for me to be where certain country that you look up to is? Resources, knowledge, people, skills, finances, etc. Why then, as an African continent, why then, as an African country, don't you start by saying, this is what it takes for us to be there? Now, let us put all our brains, let's put all our resources to do this. Allow me, my dear viewers and followers of Wake Up Africa, to cite an example of a country like China. Yes, you heard that right, China. What China did when they wanted to transform their economy, they took their people to different parts of the world to go and acquire knowledge. Go to the US, go to the United Kingdom, go to Europe, go and learn what it is that they do. And they went. So they invested heavily on ensuring that the people went to study, went to acquire knowledge, skills, etc., etc. And after a certain time, those people started coming back to build China to now what the world starts, say, the second largest economy in the world. First, who knows who's calculating what? First or second, it doesn't matter. But they said, this is where we want to be. And this is how we can be there. Let's kill our people. We have the resources. We do not have the resources. Where can we get the resources? Let's find the resource, and voila, there they are. They've changed the narrative and they are now a superpower. Can Africa do that? We will be back. We are taking a minute long break, so I can bring on to the program colleague from Kenya. Stay tuned. This is Wake Up Africa. See you in about 1 minute. This is Wake Up Africa and welcome back, Africa. We're looking onto the mindset of abundance. We're looking onto how endowed African continent is. But again, the reflection of African continent and its endowment is not onto its people. Why is it that we as Africans have so much of the mindset of scarcity? Why do we have so much insecurities, especially when we see a country or a fellow African making progress and we're not making progress? So, insecurity is one of the features, one of the traits that if you have, literally gives you that sense of, oh, by the way, if I am insecure, this is a trait for those with mindsets of scarcity. Why? Because when you think of abundance, when you say this person gets, I get, I can get better, more is coming for me, you cannot or you should not feel insecure. But the moment you start feeling insecure, the moment you start feeling jealous, the moment you start feeling like, why not me, why them? This is a trait that indicates a mindset of scarcity. When you also seek people's approval, this is one of the traits that most of us have. How do I look? How did I do? When you think of and you want approval from other people, this is also an indication of mindset of scarcity. Okay. Why? Because what you have only gets better when you share. Okay. And be mindful that whatever you do can only get better if you put more effort yourself and not anybody else. So stop seeking or do not seek other people's approval, because that will only give you the limit of their perspective. You did very well. Oh, no, you did not do very well. That is their perspective, and hence it limits you. But mindset of abundance tells you of abundance of everything that we have, of resources, of life, of wealth, of happiness, of love, of resources. I'm happy this morning when I was talking to my mentor, and my mentor, when I told my mentor that I was going to discuss onto the mindset of abundance, and at some point I spoke about resources and money, then he said, Austin, do you actually know that piece of paper called money in itself does not have any value, but value is with what that piece of paper can do. Okay, if you put a bunch of bananas and $100 next to a monkey, what would a monkey run for? Certainly banana. So that money, if monkey knew the value of that money that could buy you more than a bunch of bananas, they would have had. Now when you have a mindset of abundance, you should think of more of wealth creation, gaining more wealth rather than this is mine. Are you able now, with the little that you have, to gain more? The more you improve on yourself, the better and the better Africa becomes, simply by improving yourself. Now, we should stop literally thinking and seeking approval from other people, because whatever they will tell you is from their perspective. Thank you. We shall be joined shortly by Alan Subi from Uganda. Delighted always to have a discussion with you, Alan Subi, as we're looking onto the mindset of abundance. Before I take a break, we are also looking onto the law of attraction. What is the law of attraction? In a very simple term, what you think, you attract. If you think abundance, you attract abundance. If you think scarcity, you attract scarcity. This is where now you say, I only have so much. I can do or I can have more when I put more effort. Why? Because the world has a lot to give, but it does not just freely give, you've got to work for it. Law of attraction says what you think, you attract. So if you think of abundance, yes, abundance will unveil for you. We are going on to a quick break. And when we come, we have Kenya on the line, we have Uganda on the line, and they will tell us what is their perspective of the mindset of abundance and what's happening in their country and their parting remark. Stay tuned. This is Wake Up Africa. And welcome back. This is Wake Up Africa, and Wake Up Africa today is discussing the mindset of abundance. I would like to read a few comments from four of my viewers who have shared through our online platform. To begin with, Collins, writing from Kampala, Uganda. Collins says, mindset of scarcity is a killer. Mindset of scarcity is a killer. Thank you, Collins. You're absolutely right. Mindset of scarcity is a killer. But tell us more. What is your take when you say mindset of scarcity is a killer? Allow me again, Colin, to add from what you've just said that yes, it is a killer because you do not want to see people progress when you have mindset of scarcity. You only want to see yourself advancing. Silly cheap competition, silly cheap fights because you want to be seen better. You want, everything that is happening around. If you're not part of that, then it's not a good thing. Then mindset of scarcity becomes a killer. But that is my perspective. What is your perspective? Emma from South Africa, and thank you, Emma, yet again for being with us. You were with us last week. You said it takes an individual effort to change the mindset, whether of abundance or scarcity, and not a group effort. Emma from South Africa says it takes an individual effort to change mindset of scarcity or abundance and not a group effort. And Emma, you are absolutely right. Last week, when we were discussing setting goals, the essence of setting goals, the quotation that we opened up with said, if you know the problem, you're best off position to address it. Similarly, when it comes to mindset of abundance or mindset of scarcity, if you already know that these are traits of mindset of scarcity and you work towards changing them, yes, it is you to take that bold step to say, no, I do not want to have a mindset of scarcity. I want to have a mindset of abundance and work towards changing that mindset. Yes, it's an individual effort. The world, yet again, is full of abundance. But the world, as abundant as it is, or full of abundance as it is, will only give you, this is what I like to say, the opportunity. What it takes is for you to grab that opportunity. One of other things that my mentor reminds me always of, I always tell him, I wish there were 25 hours in a day. Then he says, there's some people who struggle to even complete an hour. You wish there is a 25th hour. Now, the world gave us all the equal resource called time, 24 hours. We all have 24 hours. But what it is that we do within the 24 hours now define those who succeed or those with mindset of abundance from those with mindset of scarcity. Okay. If within the 24 hours, what you work on is to improve yourself, is to improve your society, etc., then you're building abundance, you're absorbing the abundance that the world has. That is the mindset of abundance. Beatrice from Tanzania. Oh, you share my mother's name. Delighted. Beatrice from Tanzania says, let us focus on children and make sure that they grow with a mindset of abundance. Let us focus on children and make sure they grow with the mindset of abundance. And I cannot agree with you more. Yes, when you have children and you tell them and impart in them as young as they are on the mindset of abundance at that young ages. As I did also say earlier on, and I think you're quoting or you're referring to what I mentioned earlier, when you have an upbringing that says there's not sufficient of that, we can't do that, we can't do this and that. That is the mindset of scarcity. Then a child grows with that mindset. And when they grow, they do not see the world from that end. They see the world from the mindset of scarcity. But when we focus now, as you rightly say, Beatrice from Tanzania, that we focus on children to make sure that they have the mindset of abundance, is when now they're able to see that there's always enough for everyone. Valentine from Mombasa, uh, speaks of education. Valentine says education is critical in changing mindsets. Education is critical from changing mindset. Look at the way we grade students from the first student to the last. giving pass marks to the students. And Valentine concludes by saying, when you say you're the best student, better student, poor student, you're already creating competition which does not bring any meaning to the children, especially through education. Education should give students the opportunity to be the best, and they will be able to see the best in the world. Thank you, Valentine. It's a fantastic message. Again, mindset of abundance. School systems, are they helping us as parents to bring children with mindset of abundance or mindset of scarcity? This is such a beautiful contribution, Valentine from Mombasa. Thank you very much. And we have Madam Patricia Dede from Kenya. Patricia Dede, all the way from Nairobi, Kenya. Good morning and welcome to Wake Up Africa.
Good morning, Austin. Thank you so much for this and Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year to you too, Patricia Dede. We missed you last week and we are happy that we are able to join with you today. Patricia, tell us, what is it that you do in Kenya so that the viewers all across Africa can say, oh, we know of Patricia Dede from Kenya in the Wake Up Africa. And when we go to Kenya, we can get one, two, three, four. And this is mindset of abundance.
Thank you. Thank you, members. I am from Nairobi, as Austin has mentioned. I'm in the communication space, communications and PR. I am the vice president of the Public Relations Society of Kenya. And 825, I run a consultancy known as Simori Communications, which basically deals with corporate communications, government communications, above the line, below the line. And then further to that, I also try and I also run, I just recently launched a children's agency, which is, if you know Huduma centers in Kenya, it is basically a one-stop shop solution provider for public service delivery. So this is a one-stop shop for anything to do with kids between the ages of 1 and 18. So with that, you can get any solution, be it medical, be it education, be it accessories, upholstery, anything to do with children. So it's like a Huduma center for children.
That is beautiful, Patricia, and congratulations. I am hoping that through Wake Up Africa, with the abundance that the continent has, you will be able to share this note so that we have Huduma Center originating from Kenya but cutting across different African countries. And this is the abundance that Africa has. By former president, the late John Pombe Joseph Magufuli, used to say that the problems that we all have as a country, as the continent, we share similar problems because, other than the 1884-85 Berlin Conference that divided and put borders, the problem that Africa has are similar all across. And so the solution should be similar all across, and we'll be happy to see if we can bring Huduma Center from Kenya, Patricia, and this is your legacy across Africa. Are you able to put the video on, or you are okay with this, Patricia? We are happy. We don't wish to limit you.
I was just juggling with my devices, and so in the next 10, I should be able to have my video on, if that's not a problem, if you don't mind.
Not at all, not at all, Patricia. We are looking onto the mindset of abundance. We're looking onto how rich the African continent is, but if you look onto many Africans, Patricia, the reflection of the abundance that the African continent has is not reflected onto our lives. This is because either our mindset, subconscious mindset of most African tells us of scarcity. What is your take on that?
Sorry, Austin, come again. I'm still trying to connect. Come again, please. Sorry.
Okay, great. So we are discussing today on the second episode of Wake Up Africa onto the mindset of abundance. Mindset of abundance looks onto how rich and abundant the African continent is, but it is not a reflection onto most or the majority of Africans. Is it because our mindsets are of scarcity that we think that the resources are not there and are not enough for everyone in Africa, and hence we scramble for that little instead of opening our minds, looking onto the opportunity and the glance that African continent has that has abundance for everyone? What is your take on that?
I think it first starts with traditions, because we are not aware, or we think that we are not supposed to shout or talk about things. So half the time unconsciously we are always downplaying things or saying we are not supposed to talk about this, we are not supposed to do this. And as you mentioned with abundance, you grow up, or you keep going on through the phases of life, just downplaying or underplaying things and having a mindset that this is not for me, I can't do it, this is too big for me, or this is too big for us. So as that goes on, you keep going on and on and on, and it builds up into a structure that is alive in you, or is alive in the systems that we have in Africa, because you have already believed it and you have indoctrinated yourself that this is not for us, this is too big, and we cannot manage to do this, or we are not supposed to be saying this. And it happens, and you live with it that way. So I think we need to shake that off and believe that it is okay to get out of our simplistic thinking, and to also get out of the structures that we have been made to believe over time, that this is not for us, or this is too big for us, or we are not able to do this. So that as we go along, we are always saying we can do this, this is for us, we are able to get this, and we are able to transform.
Absolutely, Patricia. I can't agree with you more. We are raised that way. You know, when you see a child attempting to do something, the first thing you do as a parent, and I do not know, you'll probably help us or guide us further on that. You tell that child to stop, not to do that. We've gone to the extent that we even go further and define some activities for a girl child and a boy child. Don't play football, that's a boy's game, you know. Girls play with toys, etc. And this now creates that limitness of a mindset, that mindset of scarcity that says you are limited only to a certain scope. You are limited only to doing one, two, three, and not that. And once you grow up, and I'm happy that you brought this tradition, yeah, that cuts across many African cultures. And since this is Wake Up Africa, we want to change the narratives of Africa. Patricia, now help us. How do we then make sure that the generation that is coming after us, our children and their children, do not take this up onto the next generation?
I think it's rather obvious that change begins with us. We may not have been raised that way, but now, because we are aware and we know that something needs to be done, the change has to come from us, and it has to be seen with us. So our children have to see the difference and say, okay, we don't have to be doing this because they did this. And our parents are now embracing a lot of things. And looking at even things such as AI is changing the narrative. Not just in the communication space, it's changing the narrative everywhere. And sooner or later, we as parents will have to embrace AI even in, schooling, doing things with our children. And and so we have to catch up. We have to deliberately play catch up and embrace this. And when they see that we are embracing things, we are looking at things with a third eye. So they also grow up knowing that the traditional way of doing things is not the way things are being done anymore. So, as you mentioned, that there are things that are meant for the girl child and there are things that are meant for the boy child. Those now do not apply, and they know that we are it's okay for a boy child to do certain things, and it's okay for a girl child to do certain things. And even at the home front, it starts even with just letting the boys do certain things, letting the boys, if it's house chores, letting the boys do the dishes as well, letting the boys also take part in cooking, letting the girls also, wash the cars, teach them how to fix the tires, and roles, it's just role playing, even from the home front. So it has to start with us as parents, and it also has to, we have to make the children see that we have embraced so many principles, AI, and even just basic traditional roles within the home front. And then this then plays a trickle effect to them and to other generations to come.
Thank you so much, Patricia. Very much. I'm sure you've met one of my producers, who's an AI expert and guru here in Tanzania. When you said AI is changing the narrative, and I cannot agree more. You're absolutely right. And I'm sure is with us producing this program, Wake Up Africa, is smiling right now, big smile. Patricia, you spoke about us as parents that we need to change so that we can impart that change. I read last night one of the three books that I'm reading in a day. I'm reading Personal MBA, I'm reading The Diary of the CEO, and I'm reading Daily Laws. One of the laws that I read yesterday spoke of the change. In order to impart change in you, you probably have to see it to believe it. And the writer, the author spoke, gave a very good example that if someone you they gun point at a person you love, and then they say, if you don't believe I'm Jesus Christ, I'm going to shoot this person you love. Would you believe if he is Jesus Christ, or you would not believe? Then he gave an example of that same person who had a gun, puts a gun down and says, and changes water that he was holding into wine. And he says, do you believe I'm Christ? Which one would you take? Now, why do I give you this example from the book Daily Laws that I read yesterday? Is because you spoke about change. Now, if I, as the parent, Patricia, do not believe that mindset of abundance can really exist, how am I able to pass on to my children? That would be my final question. You will tell us your what's happening in Kenya and your parting remarks after that.
Unfortunately, if you don't believe, then this is an exercise. It's dead on arrival if you don't believe it. Because this then transcends to many things. It's the mindset of abundance transcends to wealth creation. It flows to health, um and wellness, mental wellness, amongst other things. So if you lock yourself in and you don't embrace it, and embracing it is not saying I'm going to embrace the mindset of abundance now, today. It's like a process. It's a process. You're coming from a hard place where you have never known about it. You are now being aware about it, and you are slowly accepting it. So over time, say, could be even a week or a few days, or some time, and you finally go through that process where you say, look, I want to change from this to this. I want to accept this because this is going to help me look at life through a different lens. This is going to help me tap into networks that are going to be worth my time and worth my while. And iron sharpens iron. I am going to now start changing the narrative in what I do. I'm going to exercise more. I am going to stop eating carelessly. I'm going to do so. I'm now zeroing in on my health, and many other aspects and spheres of well-being of an individual. So the minute you cross over, then you are now saying, this is a mindset of abundance, and I'm going to apply it in different spheres of my life. And I'm going to do this differently. I'm going to look at things differently. And it's like finding your true north. And when you find your true north, then you start attracting that which you're looking out for. And it's just like driving in traffic, and you know the central business district is full. The parking, there's no parking today. But the minute you set out from home driving and know, I'm going to get that parking slot and I'm going to park and I'm going to go, believe it or not, it is a power of attraction. You're going to attract it and you're going to get that parking slot, believe it or not. And you're going to park with or without any, with all the difficulties that is known to be, in the city. You're going to get that parking slot, you're going to park, and you're going to run for your meeting. So the minute you attract that, it's called the power of attraction. The minute you attract that, the minute you embrace it, you are going to have that abundance, and you're going to see it bit by bit in your life, and you're going to realize, okay, this is now happening. I believed this is happening. It is now coming up, and abundance then flows. So to your point, Austin, if you do not believe in it, dead on arrival. That's my thinking. And you have to attract it to have it. You have to find your true north, and you just have to say, this is what I want to do. And it is about abundance. And I have to change my mindset in all the spheres of my life, in all the compartments and all the departments. If you could have your life just like an organization with different and various departments. So once you do that, you are sure to say, you'll see the change coming. It couldn't come completely in one day or 1 week, but for sure you'll see the change because you've had that mindset and you've decided to have that positivity and saying, yes, this can happen, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this differently.
Thank you so much, Patricia. You have spoken, you've poured all your heart onto Wake Up Africa. And absolutely, this is how we're going to change the narrative of Africa when it comes to mindset of abundance vis-a-vis the mindset of scarcity. We really do not want to be dead on arrival. We really want to hit the road running on arrival. We've got to find that true north that really ground us and takes us to the right direction that we want to take. And the lines, iron sharpen irons, iron sharpens iron is really crucial and important. That it's not gonna be smooth to make any change in life. Instead, it's really gonna be tough. But you have to embrace. You want a sharp iron, you've got to sharpen it with an iron. Thank you so much, Patricia. Tell us what is happening in Kenya recently, in the recent past, or in the future. As I did say earlier on, Tanzania in the next couple of, in 2 weeks, will host heads of state from Africa. And I'm happy to say that I look so much forward to that. And I hope yet again, President from Kenya will be joining us in Tanzania. I will tell you more about that probably coming week. But what's happening in Kenya?
Oh, well, a lot is happening in Kenya. Austin, sorry, I'm not able to put on my video, but I'll surely work on this. Kenya, a lot is happening in Kenya. I don't know where to start from, and I don't know which angle. One, for now, we've just got into a new year just like everyone else, and it's all back to school. We are just having a slight cabinet reshuffle that happened before the end of the year. We are also just seeing what is happening in Ghana. They have a new president, and our president went for the inauguration. We are also looking at the bigger picture, which is, I'm sure you are aware of the Gen Z demos sometime last year, which changed a lot of things. And also you felt the effects back in Tanzania, and you know that, when Kenya catches a cold, somehow you feel the effects, in terms of stuff that come in the economy. But that said, Austin, I just want to say that it was a tough moment for us sometime last year, a known moment because these demos were going on and we didn't know when they were going to stop. And change was something that was necessary, going by the demos. Now, those changes happened. The president embraced those changes and embraced what you call a broad-based government, where it was more of an inclusive, all-inclusive government, which he's been trying to, have the building blocks put in together, just so that everyone could have a say and everyone could take part in the growth of the country. So we are now on the patch up trajectory, where we are now saying this has happened, the changes are happening, cabinet is being reshuffled a little bit. We're also looking at the introduction of new permanent secretaries, and looking at that, we hope that this is going to bring some sanity, and it's also going to bring some focus on government systems, how things are done, how things are communicated, how projects are done. And so that is a long story. That is a short story of the long of what is happening in Kenya, to answer you. So we are on a patch-up trajectory, which has embraced a broad-based government, and the citizenry is basically taking up a wait-and-see situation, giving the president and his cabinet time to see, okay, you are reworking this, how is this going to work? And with hopes that this is going to, one, heal the economy, make things look better, and also just create that sense of fulfillment within the citizenry, and also just bring some hope, because, hope is what everyone hangs on to. And this will fuel people and take you a long way in saying, look, it's not the best of what we have, but at least there's something that has been done, and we are hoping that things will work out. But then again, the hope should not be too far off. The hope should also walk with us the journey, where we are now seeing changes, along the way. And I think then comes to the issue where we're talking about we should have, as a nation, a mindset of abundance, so that we are all not looking at, it's all gloom and this is not working, this shouldn't happen this way, the demos were there, it's all gloom. All said and done, we have been through that patch, and so we should, I think, try to have that mindset from the top, from the leadership to the bottom, the citizenry, looking at, now, let's accept this, let's accept the change, and let's look at this new way of living that we have been promised.
Thank you so much, Patricia. Indeed, a lot is happening in Kenya. And now your parting remark to Africa. What is your take to Africa?
Sorry, Austin, I can't hear you.
I'm saying, what is your parting remark to Africa? What is your message to Africa through Wake Up Africa?
Wow, I could say a lot, but for today, I could just say that let's embrace change. Let's also walk a mile in each other's shoes, because you cannot embrace change, you cannot embrace a mindset of abundance if you don't have empathy. You have to empathize and walk in a mile of your colleague, of your friend, of your companion, or whoever is within your space, so that you're able to also understand the difficulties and the challenges they are going through, and also help them embrace this. Because again, it's not about us alone, walking alone. We are walking this path together. And how do we walk together? By understanding what Austin is going through, by understanding what Elliot is going through, by understanding what Alan is going through. For me to actually say that, even as I embrace this, I'm going to embrace this, but I'm also going to take cognizance of what my other colleagues are going through, so that you're not also shoving other people out and jostling, elbowing other people out with so much energy as you are embracing this abundance. So as we do that, let's also have empathy with others. Let's be kind. And also let's just try and see, as I do this, as I embrace this change, am I also working with others to also pull them up on my way up? And when you get up, please press the lift to pick up others who are still struggling with embracing abundance, because the more we are, the merrier. The more we accept this, the more we embrace this concepts, the better for us. It's a win-win for all of us. So we can't win alone. We have to work with others who could also be struggling to embrace this concept. That would be my submission, Austin.
Patricia, thank you so much. It's truly a win-win when you have a mindset of abundance. And for me, really, is to thank you for making time this morning. Next week, Patricia, on Saturday during the show, the Wake Up Africa, we'll be discussing on to what does it take to support African business for Africa to win. Buy Africa, support African business. You know, we have the tendency whereby you say, I'd rather buy American garden and not buy paste from Africa or from Kenya or from Tanzania, etc., etc. So this is what we want to look for onto next week at the Wake Up Africa. So I look forward also, Patricia, to your contribution. What does it take for Africa to support African businesses so that Africa can grow as a continent? So thank you so much, and I look forward to your contribution next week. Thank you, Patricia. Stay tuned to Wake Up Africa.
Thank you so much, Austin, and everyone
And
else.
without further ado, my dear viewers of Wake Up Africa, this is Wake Up Africa. I already have Alan Subi from Kampala, Uganda. I want to believe that I'm not, again, stuck onto the mind, Alan Subi, that you are in Kampala. You could be anywhere in the world, but we know you represent Uganda. How are you? And welcome to Wake Up Africa, Alan.
Thank you so much, Austin. Thank you, and have a and good morning. I'm wondering how easy for you it is for you to wake up so early on Saturday morning.
Alan, when you think about the narratives that the world has over Africa, how do you get asleep at first point? Then when I think of Patricia, when I think of Elliot, when I think of Alan Subi, when I think of Aminata, when I think of Remy, when I think of Collins, when I think of Talks, then I ask myself, these are the people who are joining Wake Up Africa to really discuss how we can change the narrative. And then my sleep just cuts off and says, let me just go out onto the studio, have Alan onto the program, have Patricia, have Elliot, and the rest of the team to discuss how can we change the narrative. And this is the only way I'm able to wake up in the morning. How are you?
I'm great, Austin. I'm great.
We are discussing the mindset of abundance. You've heard a greater part of the discussion or the contribution that Patricia, all the way from Nairobi, Kenya, said. Now, my question straight to you, as we're looking on to the mindset of abundance, I'm sure you know by far and large of, and you've heard of, probably studied many times, and probably discussed it many times, the word vicious circle. When it comes to the mindset of scarcity vis-a-vis the mindset of abundance, how can we break the vicious cycle of the mindset of scarcity, Ellen?
Mm. Austin, very interesting subject we're discussing this morning. And for me, just thinking about it made me sad in a way that I've never looked at before, really. So maybe I had never given it this much thought, but just knowing that we're going to be talking about it today and then listening to the earlier submissions, I've just gotten sad because, like you've said, it's a vicious cycle. From generation to generation, we're doing the same old things, achieving the same old results, and when do we make it stop? Um, I'll give you this. It's an African thing to blame our governments for everything. So we say maybe this president is not doing what they're supposed to do, let them go. Another president comes, and there's no personal change from our end. But governments will change, but we're still experiencing poverty. We have not changed our mindsets. Then we hand it over to our children. They go through the same. And that's how and that's how and that's how it's been. Someone is asking for my video, and I'm so sorry, not today, but I promise you next Saturday. Next Saturday you will see my face. I promise you. So Austin, I want to take this away from our government, and I know that they could do better. There's a lot they could do better, all our governments in Africa. However, I want to address this on a personal level because it does affect us on a personal, on a family level. So how do we break this vicious cycle of the mindset of scarcity? And allow me call it poverty. There are just a few things that we can start. And when I know that, sorry, when we correct our mindset, it's going to impact our finances. Sometimes in the short run, other times in the long run, but we need to just have a mindset switch as Africans. Number two, we are being made fun of. When you want to hide something from an African, put it in writing. We don't read. Austin, we don't read. It's such a shame. We are not reading. We're not encouraging our children to read. We know that even if we are short on travel, we are not exposed travelers. There is so much that we can achieve through reading. Reading is the way that we can explore the world, but we're not doing it. Reading exposes our mind to the things that we can do, to the possibilities in business, in our health, in our different sectors, really. So why aren't we doing this? I think that's something that we can. It's a low-hanging fruit. We should partake of it. I know it's also in Africa where we spend everything that we earn. Our saving culture sucks, and then we still blame the government. There's so much, the bills are high, the taxes are high, this and is high. And then we hate people that tell us to live within our means. Yeah. We are so quick to celebrate our wins. I know, I do this too. Whenever I get my monthly salary, I need to celebrate me first. The mornings I've woken up early, the nights I've stayed up late, I need to celebrate me first. But I also know that I can't do it beyond my celebration, my reward for self should not get into my savings, because savings are my wealth for tomorrow. If I'm spending my savings today, then I am not at par with my tomorrow's wealth. Yeah. So who stands to lose? It's still me. So while I'll say I'm going to buy myself a new bag, I'm going to reward myself with a new pair of shoes, I know that it can't be 3, it can't be 4. I will stick to that one. And please note that everything I'm saying this morning is not because I'm perfect at it, but I know that these are things that work and I'm getting there. So I think for many of us that make some money, a bit of money, we are failing to get where we want to be because we reward ourselves too much. Our saving culture is suffering, and then we spend all that we earn. Somehow, I know, and we treat these as memes on social media. By the 10th of the month, people are already saying we are broke. It's just the 10th of the month. Then January, they're already calling it January because we don't plan, we don't save. We spent everything in December, so now it's January. We need to do better. I'm sure that in the developed world, there are no memes and jokes around January and around wealth and finance that way. Yeah, so those are some of the ways. I know I still have more. We shall get through those as we go along, but those are some of the ways we can drop the vicious cycle of scarcity.
Thank you so much, Alan, for that beautiful contribution. And I totally agree with you. We always look onto someone to blame. Luckily, you've mentioned the government, and as you're speaking, you took me to the quotation. I think it was said by JFK that said, we do not ask what the government will do to us, but what we can do for the government. And I'm happy that you've taken back the statement, which is open and true and factual, that Africa does not read. Africans do not read, and there's so much abundance again into reading books. My mentor speaks of limitness of the mind in relation to the vocabularies you have. And again, vocabularies in relation to the books you read. And it speaks of, if you want to go higher, if you want to go to the upper shelves, you've got to put more books down so you can be able to step on them to go up. That means the more you read, the upper you get in terms of vocabulary, in terms of exposure, etc. And then the saving culture that you've brought, and I'm happy you said that savings are the wealth for tomorrow. If you deplete what you have today, how will you be tomorrow? And these are all relevant into breaking that vicious cycle. And I truly am grateful. Now, I'm looking on to Alan Subi. I'm looking on to the mindset of abundance, looking onto the glass half full and not half empty. I'm looking onto the mindset of abundance. How do we then, as the present generation, I'm not looking myself as the future generation, I'm looking myself as the present generation, and I'm looking onto my children as the future generation. How do we then make sure that the ones that are coming behind us embrace the mindset of abundance?
Mm. Austin, at this point, I want to bring in some of my biblical principles. I am a Christian, I'm a reader of the Bible, and I believe that Africa as a continent can move forward when we embrace some of these principles, though they also transcend religion. So principles adopted by Christians also work for Muslims and for all the other religions. We need to practice gratitude for ourselves in our works and also for our neighbors. You know that it's in Africa where someone will be celebrating a big achievement, and then the neighbor will be so jealous. Africans, we are so interested in things to do with witchcraft because we are jealous and whatnot. I think it's time to drop all that and totally embrace gratitude, because we know that in, in Uganda we have a saying that causes guys of nay. It means be happy for your neighbor and you will also get. Yeah. So that's just, small principles that can help us go far and embrace a mindset of abundance. Be happy for your friend, celebrate their wins. Trust me, in a way that will also impact on yourself, and you'll have wins to celebrate tomorrow. We need to set goals, and we talked about this last week. We need to set goals and action plans. Okay, these goals, are they achievable? What's the time frame? What am I going to do? What steps of faith am I going to take to achieve these goals? Then how do I monitor them? How often should I, to see how I'm doing, how I'm faring, and then how do I make adjustments to get there on time? So those are things that we need to do to change and to embrace a mindset of abundance. Africa has the wildest, the world's most entrepreneurial countries. I know Uganda is one of them. That's something that I need to actually celebrate, especially for the women. We want to do whatever our hands land on. We are thinkers. We are, we want to get our hands dirty. We want to work. Great. So because we are into thinking about business, we are very business minded. Shouldn't stop. we should diversify. It does not hurt anyone if you have a stall in the market, but you also do deliveries of fruits to people's doorsteps. We need to, think broader. We know that now we're already business oriented. So now how do we better our businesses with the little capital that we may be exposed to? So we need to think through bettering our businesses so that we don't only remain, entrepreneurial states and that's all that they're celebrating us for. We need to also be managers of big businesses, and how do we make them big? We explore diversification, having multiple businesses or having one business, but then it's having many products. So I think those are some of the things that we can do to benefit from a mindset of abundance, and for it to not only be a mindset, but to also, come into fruition.
Thank you so much, Alan. And my final question before I go on to what's happening in Uganda and your parting remark. I had earlier on a lady from Mombasa, I believe Valentine is a lady from Mombasa, who spoke about the education system in Africa and how the education system, the way we do the ranking, you're the first student, the second student, or you're an A student, B student, that contributes to making the children with the mind to grow with that mindset of scarcity, that you should always strive to be at that top, and you should always try to be there and remain there. What is your take on that? Does really education system in Africa need to change? I know this is a topic for another day, but when it comes to mindset of scarcity and mindset of abundance, how does the education system in Africa, which is almost similar across the African continent, contribute to preparing the future generation onto having mindsets of either abundance or mindset of scarcity? What's your take?
Yeah, Austin, I had that submission, and I do agree that our education system has gaps. But I also am choosing to look on the positive side. Whatever the education system gaps are, I think there's an opportunity for us as parents to fill them at home. And then also there are things that we can celebrate from a system like that. I know that I appreciate our system for exposing us to books. It gives us first of all, it nurtures our reading culture. And you get out of school having read so many books whose lessons you can use to 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 win in life, but you also have a culture that enables you to keep reading, to keep yearning for more. Because of the gaps in our education culture, then there is a thirst to learn more. And I know that it does not apply to 100% of students, maybe to fewer. But if I'm to look at changing the curriculum or the system, then that might take 100 years. But what do we do between now and then? I think we need to supplement as parents, introduce our children to reading, introduce them to material, and to such conversation. Mindset change needs to be discussed even in our homes. A mindset of abundance as opposed to a mindset of scarcity, because you'll notice that even in schools, there are children that you can tell have been spoken to about these things. You can tell in a class of 50 students, 30 students, you can tell that there are these 5 whose parents have invested time into having such conversations. So how about we increase them at that level? From home, we are talking to our children so that when they grow up, their impact is much greater than our impact in our generation.
Alan, thank you very much. You've touched directly my heart, and I think it's a homework that I'm also taking home, not for the day, not for the week, not for a month, but for the entire lifetime as I have my kids under my roof, to really cover the gaps, as you rightly said. The gaps of education system need to be filled in our homes. all those that I see as gaps and they cannot be absorbed by the education system, it is my responsibility as a parent to make sure that I cover them at home. And this is Wake Up Africa. And thank you for passing this message across. We have Kenya, Burundi, and everybody following us. We have had Collins from Uganda, Emma from South Africa, Beatrice from Tanzania, Valentine from Mombasa, Kenya, joining us, and all our viewers of Wake Up Africa joining us through our online platform, receiving and taking that message forward. Thank you so much for sharing that message. And this is how we're going to embrace the mindset of abundance. What is happening in Uganda? As I did say, and I'm celebrating Tanzania, Island Subi, as we shall be hosting the heads of states in about 2 weeks, discussing on to energy efficiency. We're going to be discussing, leading the heads of states to discuss how we can make sure that 300 million Africans have electricity at home. This is again the shift, the narratives that Africa is changing now to looking onto the region. So the heads of states are coming to Africa to discuss how we can improve the African continent. And these are the mindsets, Ellen, that you and me, as the next generation, to our presidents, and then our children have the same mindset, looking onto Africa as the continent as one, and not Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda, Burundi individually. So, what is happening in Uganda before you tell us your parting remark?
Austin, we are on the same page actually. Right now, we're also hosting African heads of state. We're hosting the African Union Extraordinary Summit on Agriculture, and we're basically talking about value addition in agriculture. How do we reduce the agricultural products going out as raw materials? How do we first add value and export them at that level? That's the conversation happening Thursday to Saturday. It's ending today. Yeah, but on a sad note, this conversation is being overshadowed by the death of a former member of parliament for Kawempe, Honorable Muhammad Sejirinya. He passed on the other day, and that's been sad. That has overshadowed the good summit that's happening, because all over social media, that's the conversation. Then there's a lawyer, one of Besige's lawyers, who has been arrested, Aaron Kiza. So that's what's trending here. Sad news, really, but on the positive side, we're discussing value addition in agriculture.
Thank you so much, Alan. And we say, for the soul that has passed on, may that soul find eternal rest, and amen to that. And yes, oftentimes great discussions get to be overshadowed by discussions like this, but they shouldn't stop us as Africans to really look onto. And I believe one of these days, Alan, we should be able to discuss this topic onto Wake Up Africa. You know, it's interesting that you brought this up, and that the heads of state are having the extraordinary African Union summit, looking onto reduction of exploitation of raw materials. So we add value, we support African industries, we grow economies, we grow employment etc., which is also part of the discussion for next week. But I'm also questioning, Alan Subi, from your take, but this, you do not need to respond to that because we're not discussing that. Is agriculture really an African thing? Again, you do not need to respond to that. That is a discussion for another day. But I'm beginning to question personally if agriculture really is an African thing. Why? Because to date, Alan, to date, we do not have managers. We do not have even universities that train agriculture managers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We have banking managers, institutions that train bank managers. We have institutions that train all other professions except in agriculture. If today you want to succeed in agriculture, you've got to hire some foreigner to come and manage your farms. What can they tell you other than let's cultivate and export this? I believe somehow, some way, the heads of state will pick that up and probably see it as part of the solution, and we'll discuss it some other day on to Wake Up Africa, because we really are determined to change the narrative. Alan, what is your passing closing remark?
My parting shots this morning, Austin, to Africa are one, we need to make friends if we're going to change our mindset from scarcity to abundance. We need to make friends that align with that. We need to take on friendships that are beneficial to our finances, to our businesses, to our going forward, rather than sit around and just curse the government, curse what's going on, talk about challenges in business without solutions. We need to get like-minded friends who think positive, who think, what's the solution, who think, what are we going to do about this, So it doesn't even have to be a new set of friends, but how about we change the conversation within our circles? We need to be discussing solutions this year so that we actively participate in changing the mindsets of ourselves and those around us. Number two, we also need to be able to embrace opportunities. Africans, we need to stop despising work. We need to stop despising jobs. However, we need to be grateful that we get to have additional hustles onto what we're already doing. So I'm really bothered when I hear Africans say, "Oh, I can't do that. That's not for me." I'm hoping this year, let's try to get into as many doors of opportunity as we possibly can. It's all for the good of our finances. So we stop despising, we stop saying, "No, for me, I can't do this. I have a master's degree." No, take it on and add that to your other check at the end of the month. So, let's do those, and with time, our mindset will change.
Thank you so much, Alan. And I truly appreciate always for making time to be on Wake Up Africa and sharing your great insight. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. And I'm going to do a parting remark as a key take onto what I will be speaking about shortly after this brief break. Thank you once again and stay tuned. This is Wake Up Africa, Mindset of Abundance. Yes, we can, Africa. Wake up. Yes, we can. We'll be back in a few seconds. So this is Wake Up Africa, and I really am appreciative of the contribution from Elliot from Burundi, Patricia Ndede from Kenya, and Alan Subi from Uganda. We will shortly be joined by Aminata from Arusha, Tanzania, as well as Remy from Rwanda. I hope Talks will be joining us from Nigeria. It's still pretty early now in Nigeria. And Collins from South Africa will also be able to join us in the reminder of the time. We have about 20 minutes before we call Wake Up Africa to an end. And I would really like to pick, as Alan Sobi was concluding, but giving us remarks before she went off. And she reminded me of how some of the mindsets that I really am celebrating, and I should have the picture of Kagame in my office, and I can't remember, was it Rwanda or Zimbabwe, whereby when the war struck between Russia and when we had that war in Russia, and we did not have wheat in Africa. I'm trying to remember, was it Kagame that said, what does it take for my country to be self-sufficient in wheat? Or was it the president of Zimbabwe who made that remark? And they said, this is it. We are going to do what it takes for us to be able to produce wheat in our country. And that is exactly what they did. And they did not have to import wheat anymore. That is the mindset of abundance. When you're able to think that the world is sufficiently designed to give us what we want or what we need, and we just go for it and we would get it. That is the mindset that we really ought to adopt. It's not the mindset that, no, we leave that for so and so. We also had that uh, comment from Patricia from Nairobi, Kenya. When we said that is not for me, that is for someone else. Let Ukraine and Russia produce the wheat and we import as Africa. But if you look on to arable land that we're in Africa, the question still to us, and as the heads of states are convening in Uganda, thank you, Alan Subi, for that note, to discuss how do we reduce the exportation of raw materials onto countries outside Africa. Question is, are we not able to produce and process it, add value in Africa? And this is the discussion for next week and the days to come, that when we're able to do that, when we're able to support African businesses, that means we are growing more jobs for African youth. We had a question last week on to how can we create more jobs. We cannot create jobs by exporting raw. Imagine a product coming from the farm straight onto the ship, onto an aeroplane to Europe, to US. Okay, if that product was processed in Africa, that means there would have been an industry to offtake those products. That means the industry would have employed people, etc., etc. More jobs would have been created. And I believe, as I said, maybe the heads of state will come up today. Discussion for today is the mindset of abundance. Can we have the mindset of abundance as an African continent? Do we see that the resources that we have as the continent are enough for them to be able to satisfy our countries and other African countries, for the countries to thrive? This is Wake Up Africa, and we are broadcasting live from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. And today we're looking onto the mindset of abundance. How rich the African continent is, yet it's not reflected onto the lives of majority of the Africans. What is that abundance mindset? And I really am grateful for all the contributions that we receive so far. Are you in your vision right now seeing a glasses of water as half full or as half empty? Do we see limitless potential in the African continent? Do you see as things are getting better by the day? Do you really see the efforts that are being put by the government, even to make sure that the countries in Africa are peaceful? And as they're peaceful, you're able now to go to work, you're able now to go to produce, you're able now to grab the opportunity that the world is there to provide. Do you see good things coming to Africa? Do you see good things coming onto us? Or are we stuck in our little bubbles of selfishness, jealousy, where we sit and compare ourselves so we're better off than them? You know, if things do not go very well, we laugh. If things go very well onto our side, we over celebrate. Yes, we need to celebrate, but we should celebrate within the means, as Alan had shared. Do you see, is everything very expensive for you to afford? My mentor spoke once of you have enough resources to buy a certain brand of car, but you want to go to a more expensive car dealer and you compare that dealership with a cheaper car. Why did you go at that shop at first instance? We need to stop comparing ourselves. We need to really look ourselves as um, countries in Africa that could complement each other. Is everything too expensive for you? Do you openly and freely give guidance, give advice to people who come to seek it from you? Or do you withhold stuff, saying, no, it's only me who should know, it is only me who should do this and do that? Are you open-minded kind of person? What are some of the factors that limit you to have that mindset of abundance? If you sat down and reflect on your upbringing in terms of how was it when you're growing up? Was there a discussion that things were not sufficient enough for the entire family? We were growing up with siblings, cousins in our households. Is it currently what is happening in our households today? Or do we claim to only saying, no, I can only look onto my one child, my two children that I have? Do we have insecurities in life? Or do we say there's enough? I did not get it today, but I will get it tomorrow. Um, do we seek approval from other people? The moment you want to seek approval from other people, you are limiting yourself to their mindset. That is, again, the mindset of scarcity. What do you tell yourself every morning? What do you tell yourself when you face difficulties? Do you say, this is it, I can't do this, this is for somebody else? Or do you say, what should I do? Is it another skill I need to add? Is it another class I need to take? Is it another mentor I need to approach? Is it another call I need to make to Patricia for guidance on certain issues as I'm stuck on communication? Can I call Patricia as a communication expert to guide me on to how to go about this, etc., etc.? How do you ensure that we move together as the continent? When you have a mindset of abundance, this is now being able to view the world more differently. You view the world with a third eye, that there's enough for everyone, and since there's enough for everyone, we will always see abundance into our lives. So thank you so much, all my contributors. These are very valuable contribution onto Wake Up Africa this morning. This is the second episode, and we'll be back in a short. And we are back. This is Wake Up Africa, and I am delighted to again pick two comments. One from Kedida, joining us and writing from Ethiopia. Kedida comments on tremendous work some of the African leaders do, including the Prime Minister of Ethiopia. And Kedida ends up like that. But before I bring Remy onto the session, I would really wish to also say that the Prime Minister of Ethiopia is really doing tremendous job. I went to Ethiopia recently and I saw how the mindset of abundance that this Prime Minister has in Ethiopia. You want to know more, you ought to read more about him. But I like the fact that the Prime Minister of Ethiopia comes to you and tells you, "This is how I see the city to be." For those who built the old town, now it's a new town, Ethiopia. And it tells you, are you able to build this house? If you're not, then I buys it from you, breaks it down, brings in the investor to build a property that he envisages for that place. Those kind of mindsets of abundance, when you consider tomorrow, when you consider your people, when you consider the opportunity that would happen ahead. Thank you, Kedida, from Ethiopia, but would really wish to learn more from you. And Mugashi, again from Uganda, thank you for joining. And I commend all the speakers of today for valuable contribution. Thank you, Mugashi, for joining us. And thank you for commending. Truly, these are valuable contribution. We now have Rennie, all the way from Rwanda. Rennie, good morning and welcome to Wake Up Africa.
Morning, Austin. Thank you so much for having me.
How is
Delighted to be
Rwanda?
back. Everything is going well so far. Yeah, I think,
Fantastic.
yeah, all good.
Fantastic. I am looking yet again forward to coming to Rwanda. I visited Rwanda a couple of months back. It's a beautiful country. I really must commend Rwanda. Really, it's an icon, and I'm happy that you're the president and has tend to be guided here. Remy, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're positioning Rwanda as an IT hub as well as a conference hub for Africa. Is that correct?
Yes, you are very correct. We are selling ourselves as a conference hub in Africa, but also in finance and IT. Now we have been having many IT firms registering their offices in Rwanda and like having offices where people can work from home. I think we have like two big companies which are established, which have more than 1,000 employees who are working like 24 hours to 7 days a week. I think it's really wonderful. And the conference as well, we are expanding every infrastructure that we can think of to make sure that we have a big pool that can support our aims and as our goals as a country. Yeah.
And I've also seen, Rennie, that there's a lot of invitation from countries and from other countries outside Rwanda to come and work in Rwanda. I've seen quite a number of calls. This is what I call the mindset of abundance, where you see that there's an opportunity in Rwanda. It can probably not be absorbed in Rwanda. Let us open this opportunity to East Africa. Let us open this opportunity to Africa. And this is the discussion for today, the mindset of abundance. What is your take onto the topic?
All right. Thank you so much. My take is very simple. It's that uh, the one who believe in God, God created everything and allowed us to have to make sure that we take we take advantage of it. So everything is there, opportunities are out here, resources are out here. It's just the matter of us to use the knowledge that we have and utilize the people around us who have achieved more than we have, and also learn from others who have been there to make sure that we take advantage of those opportunities and we grow together. Yeah.
Absolutely. The application of knowledge. When you put your education to use, you become knowledgeable. When you have that at heart and mind, that means you're able to grasp, you're able to see the opportunities that the world is there to avail. And this is absolutely true. Randy, we have the education system that holds us back in Africa, and the education system that holds us back um, then makes us not see the abundance that Africa has. What do we do about it?
I think I will quote Fred Swanika, the founder of African Leadership Group. I think he has given us an example of what we should do, because I think he said that he used to think that people who will be successful are the people who will go to the Ivy League schools in the US, in the UK, but after realizing that a lot of potential are actually here in Africa, he established African leadership, and he have started bringing the education that is on the level of the Ivy League in Africa. We have the campus in Rwanda. They have other campuses in Mauritius, in South Africa, I think, and the readers that are finishing, graduating from that school, they are making a big impact both here in Rwanda and Africa wide. So I think it's, as you said about the abundance, everything we have it here in Africa. What we need is to take advantage of it. And I commend that all investors, government people, all can think like that and use the opportunity that is there, take advantage of the people they have, they empower them, and then we'll get back what we invested. Yeah, that's what I can say. Yeah.
Absolutely. I did earlier on, Remy, give an example of China, how they took their people to go abroad to study and then come back to develop what is now the first or second world's top economy. And I truly commend that, as you rightly said. It's opening up your heart and mind and your eyes to see what is there and what it is that you want back into your country, and just embrace it. This is embracing the mindset of abundance. Now, other than the education, Remy, um, do we as parents, do we as the current generation have anything to do to foster mindset of abundance onto the next generation? That will be my final question. You'll tell us what's happening and your parting remark. Allow my dear viewers of Wake Up Africa for an overflow of a few minutes as we wind up the show. Remy, over to you.
My advice to the parents and the generation of today is to change our mindset, change our lives, and then that will be the example that our siblings and the generation following us will do. Because if they find us where our ancestors left us, they will continue like that. But I think we have seen many changes, and we are in a good progress. For instance, this show, they never existed before, and now we are communicating the message to the whole Africa that we can do better, and we have already, like, we are on the right track. What we can do is just improve the effort and also reach to as many people as we can, and let's collaborate together. Yeah.
You've reminded me of a quotation by my friend Chibebe, former ILO director here in Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, and Burundi, who told me always that we, in the current generation, this world is not ours. We've borrowed it from the future, and so we have to live it better than we found it. And I really thank you for reminding me of that quotation. What is your parting remark, Remy? Well, before you do that, what is happening in Rwanda?
Uh, Well, as we spoke last time, I think there are many things happening, but for instance, I will say that I think last 2 days we hosted a press conference for our president, and the emphasis or the main point in the conference was about the conflict between Rwanda, DRC, and all the involved parties. And he was discussing, actually, I think it also comes to this point that we are discussing. The solutions are there. It's just all of us to take the next step to resolve the conflict. And if the conflicts are resolved, everything will go back to normal. And no one wishes to be the one causing the conflict. I think it's more of coming to the point where you have to give something in order to gain something. So if you say you want peace but you can't contribute, then what will happen? I think that comes to this point that we are discussing, because again, as Africans, we shouldn't be waiting for any outside parties, either from Europe or from the US or from Asia, to come and resolve the conflict while we have the resources and answers to our problems. And other than that, I think what is happening here, other than that, we are also, I think what I can communicate to everyone is that Rwanda is also establishing itself as a finance hub. I think we are building infrastructures, we are making connection with all the known financial institutions in Africa to come operate here and to make it easy to facilitate business transaction across East Africa and Africa in general. Yeah, that's it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's mesmerizing, and I cannot wait when I come there. Please take me around. Make time, like 30 minutes, to just drive me around. Let's embrace the beauty. For me, I believe and I tend to grow myself with the mindset of abundance. I love learning. I love reading. I expose myself. I have friends and I connect. This is the mindset of abundance. What is your message to Africa, Remy, as we close the program today?
Thank you so much. My message today is to wake up and grab the opportunities by the roots. And what I can say is Africa, I can call it a new market, not only for Africans, but also worldwide. If someone has ideas, things to try, they must try it in Africa, because we are new. We have everything that is needed to make sure that any product, any services can succeed. We have the population, we have the resources, everything is there. So every African, I recommend them to start and apply what you are thinking. You will never get anywhere if you don't start. Thank you.
You will never get anywhere if you do not start. And I really would like to also thank you, Remy, for bringing that up. As I was, we were producing this program, one of my producers, Noreen, earlier on, we were discussing on to progress. And she did say, even those who try and fail did not stop. They failed because they attempted. So that is also an indication of a progress. So as long as we do not stop, as long as we move on, there's so much abundance for everyone. So Remy, this is really to really thank you. Patricia, you're still online. Elliot, from the beginning. I really would like to thank you, Alan Subi. I would really like to thank all our contributors, Kedida, Mugashi. I would also like to thank Collins from Uganda, Emma from South Africa, Beatrice from Tanzania, Valentine's from Mombasa, Kenya, and all those who've contributed. Interest of time, we really have to end up here. Next week, for you, Remy, and the rest of my viewers and entire African continent, we shall be looking on to what does it take really to support African business. By African, supporting Africa, what does it take to support African business? We have beautiful, fantastic facilities in Rwanda. Why do I need to go outside Africa to get the facilities as beautiful as those that I could find in Rwanda? Up until next week, I'm your host, Austin Makani, and thanks yet again to my producers, Essa and Noreen. Thank you for watching Wake Up Africa. Thank you for being Wake Up Africa, and thank you for changing Africa's narrative. Up until next week, see ya.
Thank you.
Kwaheri.